So basically, this is off.
This is currently being live streamed on the Women's League Facebook page. So if people want to share it on their own, if you're friends with us on Facebook at Women's League, you can stream it on your own personal Facebook pages. If you're not friends with us yet, become, and then you can do that. We're also recording already.
I'm going to ask Cantor Chesler to come forward and to play in the background as people begin to log on in the next couple of minutes.
על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על ביתנו התינוקת, שמור לי הטוב. על האש המבוערת, על המים הזכים, על האיש השב הביתה מן המרחקים, על כל המלך, שמע לי אלי הטוב. על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על נתן הנטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, אשיבנו ואשובה אל הארץ הטובה. שמור לי על זה הבית, על הגן, על החורמה, מיחד מפחד וטוב ולמלחמה. שמור על המעט שיש לי, על הפרי והטן, על הפרי שלא השאילו, ושנאסף על כל לילה, על כל לילה. שמור לי אלי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על נתן הנטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, אשיבני ואשובה אל הארץ הטובה. ורשרש אילן ברוח, שכוחה משלום ליבי בחושך, נרשמות עכשיו. אנא שמור לי על כל אלה, הדבש ועל העוקץ, על אל תשכח את התקווה, אשירי ואשובה אל הארץ הטובה.
Shalom to all those who are joining us today. Just a note that speakers have been designated in advance, and for optimal audio, all attendees will be muted throughout. I'm Michael Katz, spiritual leader of Temple Beth Torah in Westbury. I'm proud to say Evelyn's rabbi for 41 years. On April 8th, at Evelyn's funeral, there were only 3 of us there: her daughter Jill, her son Stephen, and myself. There was really no funeral in a chapel. The virus had ruled that out. There couldn't even have been a Shiva, even a Zoom, because it was Erev Pesach, and so a few hours after the burial, Shiva had basically ended. And as I looked around that day at the 3 of us with Evelyn, I began the service by asking Evelyn to forgive us. I said to her that she deserved so much more kavod and honor than just 3 people there. But I begged her to understand that it wasn't from our lack of respect or love. The virus was at its height. Regulations prohibited us gathering together. And though we're far from being out of the woods yet, today is our opportunity to celebrate Evelyn's life together with her several circles, her family, her shul, Women's League, and her friends. I want to begin our service today by calling on Carol Chesler, the cantor of Temple Beth Torah, who will chant for us the 23rd Psalm.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, Binot deshet yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot, Yinaleini, nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni v'maglei tzedek, Yanecheni v'maglei tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki elech be'ketz al mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuini. Taharoch lefanai, lefanai. Shulchan neged sorirai. Dishanta vashemen roshi. Kosire vaya. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefueni kol yemei chayai. Veshavti bevet Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai roi lo echsar. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God has me lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside the still waters. God guides me on paths of righteousness. God revives my soul for the sake of God's glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table inside of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever.
Evelyn was born November 7th, 1934, in, of all places, in West Virginia, daughter of Joseph Thompson and Bella Holtzman, sister of Sally and Leah. Back there were only 11 Jewish families in the town. And the family, her dad, had a furniture business. It was in existence through the Depression, and the family slogan during those difficult days was, "Thompson has faith in the future." I think Evelyn learned as a little kid and growing up that quality of optimism. No matter what the troubles are, no matter what the obstacles, there's faith in the future. No matter what happens around us, we can make it better. And Evelyn lived that her whole lives. Soon, her mom and the three daughters moved up north. Eventually, Evelyn went to high school in Englewood, New Jersey. The family became very active in Temple Emmanuel and came under the influence of one of the luminaries of conservative Judaism in the 20th century, Rabbi Arthur Hertzberg. I think it was there in Temple, growing up in shul, that Evelyn was introduced to the importance of Zionism in our lives, to the meaning and significance of conservative Judaism, and also about taking Jewish learning very seriously. And I think there in Englewood, Evelyn learned about Jewish activism, and that was something that she was going to carry with her for the rest of her life. She eventually graduated from NYU, and she worked on Wall Street as a municipal bond analyst. And that's no easy thing. We learned from this that Evelyn was incredibly intelligent, and you just had to hear her speak for a moment or two to note how eloquent she was. Being in the environment of New York City, culture became such an important part of her life, and the theater and the Philharmonic. And again, you'd see the way she dressed and the way that she spoke. Evelyn embodied class. When she was 16 years old, she went on a blind date up in White Lake with Bert, and eventually they were engaged. They got married on October 16th, 1955, after his 2 years in the Army. They were blessed with 63 years together. First, they lived in Fort Lee, then they moved out to Westbury in 1959, and then to the home in Jericho in 71. Their son, Stephen, was born in 1959, and then Jill in 1961. Over the years, the family circle grew. Charlotte and Robert became her children as well. And they were blessed with a grandson, Alexander. Some of you may know that Bert suffered from a horrific illness, cancer of the jaw. And it was as terrible as it was for Bert, for those around him and those who loved him. Watching him and not being able to help was so terribly difficult. I saw on a number of occasions Evelyn sit with Bert in the hospital. I saw her when they pushed him out of the hospital and sent him to a nursing home, sitting there with him by his bedside, trying to interpret his words, trying to meet his every need. And it was the embodiment of that cliche that we've all heard a million times about marriage and about love in sickness and in health. And that was surely the case. I happened to be at the nursing home on one particular day when it was their 63rd anniversary. I have to tell you that Evelyn and Bert were founding members of Temple Beth Torah in Westbury in 1960. This is our 60th anniversary, and Evelyn was there from the very beginning and before. Bert played a critical role in literally building our building. Bert was an architect, and a lot of who we are is because of what he put together with his hands. Evelyn became the third sisterhood president of Temple Beth Torah in 1962. Evelyn and Bert, for all of those years, were Shabbos regulars. They had their seat right over here on the right side, third row. I can also tell you, Evelyn was a regular at the rabbi's Wednesday night adult ed class, and that meant the world to me. And to have her add her commentaries and her insightful questions. Evelyn was a member of our board of trustees for over 50 years. She was part of the first group of women who celebrated an adult Benot Mitzvah ceremony. That was back in 1982. And Evelyn was one of the first women in our shul to wear a talit. And in doing so, became an incredible role model for the other women and for the next generation of women and girls in our temple. You know, we're a small temple and not too many people know where we are or who we are unless you're part of us. But I've got to tell you that Evelyn put us on the map. when Evelyn identified herself and all the roles that she played, where are you from? Temple Beth Torah in Westbury. People heard of us because of Evelyn. She brought COVID by her role in Women's League, international president. Similarly, her role in Merkaz, being part of the Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations, all of her interactions and work for the seminary, and the way that she traveled the world and met Jews all over the world. And again, was proud of where she came from, and because of her, put us on the map. And finally, we learned that here was somebody who was always busy, always involved, and always engaged Jewishly and otherwise in the world. I have to tell you that it is almost impossible for me to imagine Temple Beth Torah without Evelyn's presence here. She was part of this temple, literally built it from the ground up for 60 years. Evelyn was a pillar of our temple. But the truth of the matter is that I'll look over there and I'll see her even if she's not sitting there. I'll see her name on our founders board. I'll see her name on our president's board. Every time we have a board meeting, I'll look to where she sat and I'll know that her spirit and her presence is still very much a part of this temple. I want to pass the baton now to Women's League to continue.
Good morning. I'm Margie Sivan-Miller. I'm the International President of Women's League. It is with a heavy heart that we're gathered here today. Evelyn was a beloved member of Women's League and Temple Beth Torah. Personally, I knew Evelyn for over 30 years. She was a role model, a mentor, and a friend. I know everyone on this call has fond memories and could share their own stories and anecdotes about their relationship with her. One sweet one that I personally have is last year we were in Buenos Aires together and we decided to spend the afternoon shopping, and I kept telling her to slow down and slow her pace down. And I kept saying, I'm older than you, slow down. And she would laugh. She was inquisitive, she was caring and concerned about the world around her, and is greatly missed by all. I'd like to read a short remembrance of Bobby Schleicher, a woman who's been active in Women's League for decades on our board, and of course, a Temple Beth Torah member. And these are Bobby's words. Evelyn was a wonderful friend. We met years ago when I joined the Temple Sisterhood, and she was the president. Our families were close. Her son and mine became bar mitzvah a week apart. We shared many family simchas plus holidays. Yom Kippur break the fast was either at her house or mine, and Jill always knew whose turn it was. We went on vacation together, and I'll never forget our trip to the Erie Canal. But during all that time, Evelyn never forgot her work in Torah Fund and Women's League. She was always busy on the phone, keeping up with everything happening, and she was able to do everything. From Bobby and I, may her memory be a blessing.
My name is Gloria Cohen, past International President of Women's League for Conservative Judaism and a dear friend of Evelyn's. 40-some years ago, Evelyn came into my life. She was then National Membership Chair of Women's League and was also the nominating chair of our branch. And at that time, she called me and offered me the position of branch vice president. This was the beginning of our wonderful relationship. Over the years, we traveled into New York City almost weekly, either for Women's League meetings, Torah Fund meetings, AZM meetings, Merkaz meetings, JNF meetings, or Conference of Presidents meetings. In the car, Ev would tell me about Jill and Stephen's work, and she would brag about Charlotte's talent as a buyer of property and her amazing decorating ability. And then, sometime later, came Alex. We were so happy for Bert and her. It was a pleasure to hear about his development. Evelyn and I traveled to Israel many times together for various World Jewish Congress meetings. She was highly valued among the leaders of the conservative movement. She had a wonderful understanding of the political situation facing the Masorti movement. She was bright, articulate, and very well respected by leaders of other parties. We were fortunate to travel with Bert and Fred on the Conference of President trips. This cemented our close social relationship when we returned to the island. Bert and Evelyn shared so many of our family's life cycle events. We always made sure to have Southern comfort on hand. I am fortunate to have so many memories of the time shared. I am grateful that she came to our home for dinner with friends right before she left for New York. I will continue to miss my dear friend. I will cherish the memories, and above all, I thank you, Ev, for being my friend.
Bernice Balter.
I'm Bernice Balter, and I was executive director of Women's League from 1978 to 2007, during which time I served with Evelyn Seelig, whose presidency ran from 1994 to 1998. Actually, we started our Women's League activism together in the 70s as members of the National Social Action Committee. And I recall it was during the Vietnam War when we found that we struggled to adopt a position for Women's League. We had many adventures together, including the annual mission to Israel under the aegis of the Conference of Presidents. Two trips of particular interest come to mind. One was to Germany as guests of the German government as part of its effort to reach out to the American Jewish community. We visited Wannsee, where the final solution was drafted. We met with Jewish leadership, government officials, journalists, students, and the Israeli ambassador. Another was to Uzbekistan and its cities of Tashkent, Samarkand, and Bukhara, where many European Jews fled to escape the Holocaust. Evelyn had a keen political sense. She understood the ramifications of United States strategies in world affairs, and she had a love for Israel and a strong grasp of its politics. She held her own at the Zionist congresses, which we attended. Evelyn represented Women's League effectively at national and international forums. She respected her professional staff and was confident that we were there to enhance her position. We were good friends, even meeting for dinner with her husbands when our New York Philharmonic tickets dates coincided. I remember her with respect and fondness. I miss her. Zichrona Livracha.
I'm Jill Seelig, Evelyn's daughter. My mom was a true force of nature, full of energy, strong, and unforgettable. She was the most influential person in my life, a supportive and nurturing mother, and lucky for me, the smartest, sanest, and most sensible person I knew. Who better to have on speed dial for advice than Evelyn Seelig? I often joked that my mom was the least neurotic Jewish woman I knew. She didn't really have any hang-ups and definitely did not sweat the small stuff. She was progressive and open-minded. She allowed me to be me, no judgments whatsoever. She would often say, "Honey, I can't tell you what will make you happy." So growing up, she never told me how to wear my hair or how to dress or who to date. She just supported my choices. Although in college, she did encourage me to major in accounting. It all worked out, but Mom, that was not the right choice. From an early age, my mom worked hard to build my self-confidence and taught me to believe in myself. Confidence and belief were qualities my mom possessed in abundance. The foundation she laid helped me succeed at many things, but more importantly, it made me resilient enough to weather the storm when things didn't go my way. In the face of adversity, my mom was fond of saying, illegitimi non carborundum. That's Latin for, don't let the bastards get you down. That was her attitude. Let it go and move on. Wallowing in self-pity was never an option. My mom felt that self-pity was the most dangerous human emotion. And she practiced what she preached. After my dad passed away not long ago, Mom got up, dusted herself off, and gracefully carried on. I want to thank those of you who were there for her then and without hesitation invited her to all your social get-togethers. I'm equally grateful to those of you who have been there for me over the past 2 months. In life, Mom did not sit on the sidelines. She was an active participant in so many things. Judaism and Jewish causes, of course, but she was also passionate about politics and women's rights, both religious and secular. She was the first feminist I ever knew. I know many of you can attest that she was never shy about sharing her opinions on these topics. My mom had a go for it mentality. If I found myself wavering about a decision, Mom would say, hey, Columbus took a chance. She wasn't one to play it safe and encouraged me to take risks too. Mom and I spent a lot of time together. We shared many of the same interests: theater, music, travel, animals. It's hard to keep track of the number of stray cats my mom fed, named, and took in over the years. We both loved sports, she watching them more than playing. We enjoyed going out to dinner and having a glass of wine or two. And she especially loved it when Robert joined us. And then, of course, there was shopping. Mom and I were a force to be reckoned with. We could shop for hours. No need for a lunch break or even a bathroom break. We always took such great delight in each other's finds. Our most memorable times were our mother-daughter trips to England, India, and South Africa. Mom was the greatest travel companion. She was endlessly curious and always managed to stump tour guides with her questions. I remember a tour we took in Bath, England, and after about her third question, our guide looked at my mom and asked, "Madam, are you a history professor?" No, she wasn't a professor, but she was an Anglophile. She knew her British history cold and loved all things British, especially those British murder mysteries on the BBC. It's hard to talk about my mom without talking about my dad. They were an amazing couple. I believe the secrets to their wonderful 63-year marriage were mutual respect and intellectual compatibility. My parents were my favorite people. I loved spending time with them. We always laughed, and I always learned. A friend of mine recently said, "Wow, Jill, you won the parent lottery." And she's right, I did. Fittingly, the last night Mom and I spent together before she went into the hospital was at the Philharmonic. My parents had season tickets there for over 40 years. And after Dad died, I became Mom's date. I took on this role a bit begrudgingly because classical music isn't always my thing. But Mom said, "Jill, I think it's important we do this together." Once again, Mom, you were so right. Saying goodbye is nearly impossible. But the beautiful and vivid memories I have of my mom and the times we shared will stay with me forever.
Well, hi, I'm Stephen, the elder of the two children. You saw Alex a few minutes ago, he left, and this is my wife, Charlotte, and this is Ralphie the dog. I wanted to thank everyone who has attended. I actually scrolled through to see everybody who is here, and it's so gratifying and heartening to see so many people take time out to spend time to honor my mom. I echo what the rabbi said. It was disappointing, of course, that we couldn't have had all of you there at her funeral at a service, but this is great solace to really have all of you here, and I thank you for coming. A few things struck me about the comments that we've heard about my mom, and everyone's spoken so eloquently about her. One thing that I remember very much about her involvement with Women's League is the fact that she traveled everywhere. There's not a Jewish person in any space within our world who hasn't met with or seen Evelyn Seelig. She's just an incredible world traveler. She went to places that I never would have imagined that any Jewish person would go to visit. And she really spread the word and her views throughout the world. And I think it's not only the people on this webcast who got to meet her, but many, many people throughout the world. One thing I'm sort of a jokester, so I listened to the rabbi speak about my mom's love of art, and there's no question that I was dragged to art museums. I actually know things about art, which my wife sometimes wonders how I knew those things, but it's really from my mom. She also loved music, and one thing that, and we're honoring my mom today, so I won't really curse her and my dad, but I will say that one thing my wife is disappointed about is my love of show tunes, and that was really cultivated from my parents. And if I hear My Fair Lady one more time, it'll be too many times, but thank goodness that my parents both together developed a love of classical music, and that was far easier to take, and as Jill understands, something that they really love to do. And one other thing, and this is Ralphie the dog here, I'd say that another thing that my mom and my dad really instilled in me is just a love of other beings, and a love of animals, and a love of people, and a concern about how people are doing, no matter who those people might be, whether they be animals, whether they be people who aren't as well off as we are, who are in different circumstances and the like. And one thing that I've heard from people who have spoken to me about my mom is that they've said that, you know, condolences on your mom. I see how these things have come out in you and you're caring for other people and the like. And so I want to thank my mom and my dad for that. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Peggy, Evelyn's niece, and this is her sister, Sally, who's the oldest sister. I would like to share some memories on Evelyn that my mom, my sister Emily, and I reminisced about. My mom was 6 years older than Evelyn, and they lived in a small town, Princeton, in the hills of West Virginia. 8 years later, in 1943, after family upheaval, they moved to the Bronx. And it's difficult to imagine the culture shock they must have experienced. In true Thomson fashion, we never heard complaints from any of the sisters about it. All of us agree that Evelyn was a woman who seemed to us invulnerable, competent, brave, fearless, and non-doubting. She had verve. She was so resourceful and strong. Aunt Evelyn was the fashionable sister. The joke was that she was blessed with the innate fashion gene that seemed to be recessive in Sister Sally. When we lived on the East Coast, Evelyn would bring hand-me-downs to my mom, and they were always the nicest clothes Mom ever owned. I too was always fascinated with fashion and style, and I'm sure I got that love from Aunt Evelyn. That includes my introduction to Loehmann's. And Steve, I agree with you, that dressing room was not at all what I expected. We always appreciated that Aunt Evelyn and Uncle Bert would fly out to wherever we lived, and we moved 8 times to attend our life cycle events. So every few years, Sally, Evelyn, and Leah would reminisce. They did not have the easiest of childhoods, but we never remember hearing complaints. None of them had time for complaining. Life happens and you deal with it. I think their tenacity stemmed from their mother, Grandma Bella. Grandma loved her daughters and grandchildren with such ferocity, as did her daughters. These 3 sisters were all blessed with a sharp intelligence passed down, I'm sure, from Grandma. All the grandchildren hope that we possess some of that stubborn strength from our mothers. And sometimes during tough times, I think we can do and can thank them for that. We all thought Aunt Evelyn was the strongest and smartest of us all. We are still in shock and heartbroken at her passing. We never imagined she would leave us so soon, but we are proud of the mark she left on this world.
I'm Rachel Leah, Evelyn's younger sister in Jerusalem. And I was thinking about what to say that would capture an essence of Evelyn. And I thought about her brilliant analytical mind. And then the words, she cared, came to the fore. Care enveloped in love. She cared about and loved her family, most recently manifested in her care and love for her ailing husband, Bert. Evelyn cared about the synagogue temple Beth Torah, which she and Bert helped establish. And she was active from the beginning and remained so to the end. She cared about the people in that synagogue. And yes, she loved them, fellow congregants, the rabbi, and cantors. Evelyn cared about the larger community and had active roles in the Jewish organizations. You've heard about this, Women's League, you know, highest World Zionist organization, Merkaz. She cared enough to make sure that whatever job she was given, it got done, and it got done right. She cared about social issues. Evelyn spoke her mind and supported those who worked for the weaker segments of society. All deserved equal opportunity. She personally helped put people back on solid ground when they had fallen through the cracks. She lived tikkun olam, making society better. And as everyone's mentioned, our family is very animal-oriented. And Evelyn cared about the feral cats, several of whom became permanent residents in her home. And she worried about the neighbor's dog, always chained up outside by himself. Last but certainly not least, Evelyn cared about and loved her younger sister. especially when that younger sister needed a shoulder to lean on and some good, solid advice. Evelyn cared. She will be sorely missed. Yeh zichra baruch. May her memory continue to be a blessing.
We call now on Cantor Carol Chesler to chant the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer for the departed.
For those of you able to do so, please rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamroemi, Hamsei Menuchad Nechoena, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishma Saret Tzivya Bar Yoshua Ve'Brayna Gita Shelcha Le'olama Began Eden Temenuchata Ana Baal Harachamim Hasdireha Beseter Knafecha Le'olami Utzror Bitzror Chaim Et Nishmata Adonai U'Nachlata V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar Amen.
Stand up so you can say Kaddish.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Evelyn Seelig, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that she find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
We recite together the mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit gadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hiruteh, v'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman shori v'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Lo-Mei Omaya. Yit Barach V'yishtabach V'yit Pa'ar V'yit Romam V'yit Naseh V'yit Adar V'yit Aleh V'yit Alal Shmei Dekudesha B'richu V'yela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush Bechata V'nechemata Da'amiran V'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemayim V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
It's clear that Israel was at the forefront of Evelyn's love. And so we conclude our program with the cantor leading us in Hatikva.
Again, if you're able to do so, please rise. O Lord, Baleva, Benima, Nefesh Yehudi, Onia, Mate Mizrach, Kadima, Ayin Letzion, Sophia, Ordata, Jikvatei, Adikva, Achat, Altaim, Liyotam, Hoshi, Mehatzei,
In Jewish tradition, when we mention the name of someone who has died, we always add the words Zichrona Livracha, often abbreviated as Zal. You may have seen it in the invitation after Evelyn's name, the English letters ZL, standing for Zichrona Livracha. May her memory be a blessing. In life, Evelyn was a constant blessing to all the people that she touched. And even now, she remains a blessing for us. We remember all the things that she stood for, and we recall all the incredible things that she accomplished in her life. When we think of Evelyn and when we follow her example, she continues to be a source of blessing to us. Evelyn, we will always remember you. We will always miss you. Evelyn, we will always love you. Thank you, everyone.
Amen.
Thank you all for joining us today to remember our international past president, Evelyn Seelig of Women's League for Conservative Judaism. We've been streaming this on Facebook, on our Women's League Facebook page. It's also will be edited and placed on our Women's League website. May her memory continue to be a blessing for all of us. We've all continued to benefit because of Evelyn in our lives. A good day and good health to all.
The other picture.